And with a muffled cry, he turned and fled up the stairs to the guards. Oh my God. Were you as surprised as I was to hear that just now? Can you imagine what's on her mind right now as a mom? He imagined a hand wrapped around that gun with confidence, with despair, with pain. But he could not say for sure that it was Emily's, and he curled slightly on the stand as if to protect himself. Only then could he move with the sure footing and indifference he cultivated after 7 months in prison. What? He said simply. Man, didn't you hear? Hello, and welcome back to another episode of our book club series. If you're new here and you don't know who I am, my name is Brooke. I have different types of content on my channel. What you are watching right now is a continuation of our book club series. Right now, we're reading The Pact by Jodi Picoult. We read chapters of the book, and then we discuss the characters, the drama, and our theories and opinions about what we think might happen. So if you enjoy books and book discussions, then stick around because you'll definitely enjoy this type of content. If you want to catch up to where we're at right now in the book and the discussion, there is a playlist on my channel called Book Club The Pact. I will link that somewhere up here in this corner for you to find that. Watch the last few episodes leading up to this one and jump in from there. You're welcome to do that as well. However you choose to catch up, we would love to have you join in with us. I always do a quick recap of the last few sentences that we read in the last video, just so that everybody's up to speed and we all know what's going on. Other than that, today is reading number 29, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. You guys see my little Christmas decorations back there? Let me get out of the frame. Can you see them? Announcements. As I said in the last video, I am going to be doing a YouTube video as well as a full-ass, like, step-by-step DIY blog. The photo keepsake advent calendar that I made for my bestie this year for Christmas. So if you're a DIY girly and you love making like handmade, homemade Christmas gifts and things like that, then definitely look out for that video. As well as if you are a reader like myself, you like DIY blogs, then look out for that. You can watch the video and it's going to kind of be like a little overview. And then if you want to do like a real step-by-step, then you can find the link to the blog for a full step-by-step for you to go by as you make it if you want. That's coming up soon. As I said in my last video, if you have not already listened to the podcast, what the fuck are you waiting for, friends? What the fuck are you waiting for? It's called Inappropriate. I will put a little, put a little insert here to show you what it looks like, help you find it. You can find a link to the Spotify version of the podcast as well as a link to the Amazon version of the podcast. Hello, and welcome to your daily serving of my voice. You are watching my YouTube channel with me, your host, Brooke, aka White Trash Barbie on Instagram and TikTok. If you listen to the podcast, then you'll know that reference. I think that's pretty much everything. We're going to be here for a while because it doesn't seem to matter how much I try to like make these things like 15 minutes. It just never pans out that way. Make sure you go ahead and get comfy, get your little pillow and your blanket, get your hot tea, get your hot cocoa, get your coffee, get your glass of wine and your snack. Go ahead and get all those things and sit down, relax, and listen to this story with me. Last time we ended, Michael Gold, the dead girl's father, was on the stand. Basically, it's been leading up to this point where nobody really understood why Michael was going to take the stand for the defense and stick up for Chris, who was on trial for the murder of his daughter, Emily, right? So everybody just assumed he would be on the side of the prosecution. But to everyone's surprise, Michael has chosen to stick up for Chris and be on the defense's side. Jordan, Chris's attorney, has just finished interviewing Michael on the witness stand. He feels like a guilty father for not knowing that his daughter was having these feelings and struggling so much. Michael doesn't actually know if Chris killed his daughter or not, and he doesn't feel right putting a teenager, Chris, in jail for the rest of his life if he did not kill his daughter. He feels like he's at fault too, as a father, for not knowing that his daughter was struggling as much as she was. That's what we found out last time. I'm going to read the last few sentences that I read in the last reading, like I always do, and then we are going to move on to the next section. We're always here for a while. And I try to not be here for so fucking long. I really do. Because, like, I'm the one that has to edit these things, you know? Just works out that way every time. So, yeah, we're going to be here for a while. Get comfortable. Barry Delaney did not like Michael Gold. She had not liked him at her first meeting when he seemed absolutely incapable of grasping the fact that all the evidence pointed to the boy next door offing his own daughter. She liked him even less when she found out that he was testifying for the defense. And now, after his self-flagellation on the stand, she absolutely couldn't stand him. "Mr. Gold," she said, oozing false sympathy, "I am so sorry that you have to be here today." "So am I, Miss Delaney." She crossed in front of the witness stand until she was aligned at the edge of the jury box. "You said you were very close to Emily," she said. "Yes." "You also said you didn't spend as much time with your daughter as Chris did." Michael nodded. "You said you didn't know she was upset." "No." "You didn't know she was pregnant." "No," Michael admitted, "I didn't." "You also said she told Chris everything." "Yes." "You couldn't imagine anything Emily didn't tell Chris." "That's right." "So she would have told Chris she was pregnant, correct?" I don't know." "Yes or no?" "Yes, I guess." Barry nodded. "Mr. Gold, you said that you came here because you know Chris Hart so well." "That's right." "But this trial is about your daughter and what happened to her. Either she committed suicide or she was murdered. It's a horrific choice, just as Mr. McAfee said. It's terrible that it has to be your next-door neighbor who stands charged. And it's even more terrible that it's your daughter who is dead. But the fact is, the jury has those two choices, Mr. Gold, and so do you." She took a deep breath. "Can you actually see your daughter picking up a gun, holding it to her head, and pulling the trigger?" Michael closed his eyes. Doing what the prosecutor asked, for the sake of Emily and his wife, and that strident voice in his head. He imagined Emily's beautiful face, amber eyes drifting shut, the gun nuzzling her temple. He imagined a hand wrapped around that gun with confidence, with despair, with pain. But he could not say for sure that it was Emily's. He felt tears streak from the corners of his eyes, and he curled slightly on the stand as if to protect himself. "Mr. Gold," the prosecutor prompted. "This is going to make me cry." "No," he whispered. He shook his head, the tears coming faster now. "No." Barry Delaney turned to the jury. "Then what," she asked, "are we left with?" Okay, and now it's going on to another section here. "The act of changing from his trial clothes to prison uniform seemed to Chris a shedding of skin, as if in peeling off the blazer and natty trousers he also removed a layer of civility and social grace, leaving him raw and primal back in his cell. For the first hour after returning from the courthouse, Chris wouldn't speak to anyone, and other inmates were careful not to approach him. He had to breathe in the stale air of the jail until it was all that filled his lungs, cramp himself to his accommodations, and only then could he move with the sure footing and indifference he'd cultivated after 7 months in prison. So it looks like we just jumped this scene where Chris is in jail. He ventured into the day room of the medium security unit, aware of the buzz and disquietude. Several of the other men cast furtive glances in his direction and then looked at the TV or the walls or the row of lockers. Chris had been there long enough to know that people left you alone during your trial, but this went deeper. They were not ignoring him. They were keeping a secret. He walked over to a table surrounded by men. "What?" he said simply. "Man, didn't you hear? Vernon hung himself at the state pen last night with a friggin' pair of shoelaces." "Oh boy. Oh my. Vernon. I'm trying to remember who Vernon is. I don't know if that's like his old roommate or I'm not sure." Chris shook his head to clear it. "He what?" "He's dead, man." "No." Chris backed away from the knot of inmates watching him. "No. He walked swiftly to the cell he'd shared with Steve a month earlier. Oh, it must have been his roommate then. It made me cry. Okay. He walked swiftly to the cell he'd shared with Steve a month earlier. He could bring Steve's face to mind more easily now than he could Emily's. He thought of what Steve had said before he was transferred, about what they did in Concord to convicts who killed children. By the end of the week, Chris could be heading to the state prison too. He burrowed beneath his blankets, shaking quietly with grief and fear, until he heard himself being paged to control to meet a visitor. Gus threw her arms around Chris the minute he came close enough for her to do so. "Jordan tells me it's going well," she enthused. "Couldn't be better." "You're not there," Chris said, stiffening. "And what's he supposed to say? That you're not getting your money's worth?" "Well," Gus said, settling into her bridge chair, "he has no reason to lie." Chris bent his head, massaging his temples. "St. Jordan," he muttered. There was nobody else in the visiting room. Usually Gus arrived earlier, but with the trial she'd had to get home to Kate and make dinner before she struck off again to visit Chris. Chris, who seemed awfully agitated. Gus peered at him curiously. "Are you all right?" she asked. He rubbed his eyes and blinked up at her. "Fine," he said. "Peachy." Oh, God, poor Chris. 10 years old, and he's been in jail for the murder of his girlfriend now for 7 months, and he just found out that his cellmate and his only friend offed himself in jail, but who really knows if that's what happened? Anyways, he's just going through it, man. "Fine," he said, peachy. He started to drum his fingertips on the table, and he looked at the officer posted by the stairs. "Jordan says I'm the star witness," Gus said. "He told me that the jury's going to ride my emotion all the way to a not guilty verdict." Chris jerked. Sounds like something he'd say. "You seem very edgy tonight," Gus said. "But from all accounts, Michael helped you tremendously today. Jordan's done a remarkable job up to this point, and certainly you know I'd do handsprings to get you free. Chris." "What I'm saying, Mom," Chris answered, "is that the jury may not want to see your handsprings. That they've already made up their minds. That's not the way the system works." "What do you know about the way the system works? Is it right that I've been in jail for nearly a year just waiting for a trial? Is it right that my lawyers never once asked me, 'Hey, Chris, what really happened?'" He leveled cold blue eyes on his mother. "Have you thought about it, Mom? This trial's going to be over in a day. Have you thought about what color you're going to paint my room when they take me away for the rest of my life? About what I'm going to look like at 40 and 50 and 60 when I've been living in a room the size of a closet all those years? He was quivering by the time he finished, and there was a wildness to his gaze that Gus recognized as the edge of panic. "Chris," she soothed, "that isn't going to happen." "How do you know?" he cried. "How the hell do you know?" From the corner of her eye, Gus saw the officer take a step toward them. She shook her head slightly, and he resumed his post at the stairs. Then she gently touched Chris's arm, carefully masking her own fear at seeing her son red-faced and trembling. Where was that? She realized what a strain it must be to be 18 and listening to strangers decide your life. It was just as James had told her. Chris was wearing a mask in the courtroom. Simply being able to sit there without breaking down spoke volumes about his determination and his character. "Sweetheart," she said, "I can understand why this is so frightening." "No, you can't." "I can. I'm your mother. I know you." Chris's head swiveled toward her slowly. "A bull about to charge." "Oh?" he said. "And what do you know?" Shit. Chris is going psycho. Chris is losing his fucking shit show. Chris's head swiveled toward her slowly. "A bull about to charge." "Oh? And what do you know?" "I know that you are the same wonderful son I've always loved. I know that you're going to get through this, like you've gotten through everything else. And I know that the jury isn't going to convict someone who's innocent." Chris was shaking so hard at this point that Gus's hand fell away from his shoulder. "What you don't know, Mom," he said softly, "is that I shot Emily." And with a muffled cry, he turned and fled up the stairs to the guards who would safely lock him away. I don't really even know what to say. Chris just admitted to shooting Emily. That's the first time that has ever happened in this book. We didn't know for sure because it's never been said what happened exactly. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to take this in. Like, this is my first time. I'm reading this book along with you all because I wanted it to be like genuine. You know what I mean? Why would I read a book that I've already fucking read? Like, how boring. Why would I do that? Anyways, so I'm reading this book along with you all. And that just caught me off guard. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Were you as surprised as I was to hear that just now? Okay. So anyways, it says, "What you don't know, Mom," he said softly, "is that I shot Emily." And with a muffled cry, he turned and fled up the stairs to the guards who would safely lock him away. Oh my God. Oh my God. I just want to cry right now. This is so heavy. Okay. Just take a minute. We're moving on to another section. Gus made it through signing out at the control booth. So, wonder what's on Gus's mind. Her son has just said to her for the first time that he shot Emily. Like, can you imagine what's on her mind right now as a mom? Gus made it through signing out at the control booth, past the officer who unlocked the jail door, and all the way up to her car before she fell to her knees in the parking lot and threw up. "I'm your mother," she had said. "I know you." But apparently she hadn't. She wiped her mouth on the sleeve of her jacket and slid behind the wheel of the car, blindly fumbling the keys into the ignition before realizing she was in no condition to drive. Oh my God. Oh my God. I feel like I'm going to end up crying. Whew, okay. Chris had said it, clear as day. He shot Emily, and while Gus had defended him from gossip and slander and even his father's indifference, she had been playing the fool. Small darts stabbed at her mind. Chris's shirt at the hospital, covered with blood. Chris's reluctance to talk to Dr. Feinstein. Chris admitting with relief that he'd never been suicidal. She rested her forehead against the steering wheel and moaned softly. Ugh, Chris, oh God. Chris had killed Emily. How could she not have seen through him? She put the car into gear and drove slowly out of the parking lot of the jail. She would go home and tell James, and he'd know what to do. No, she couldn't tell James, because then he would tell Jordan McAfee, and even Gus's rudimentary knowledge of criminal defense told her that that would be a bad idea. She would go home and pretend that she had never come to visit her son that night. In the morning, everything would look different, and then she'd be put on the witness stand. Oh dear. Okay, so, wow. Okay, so Gus goes to visit Chris in jail, her son, obviously. He admits for the first time ever to anyone that he, in fact, shot Emily. Gus leaves and throws up and then decides that she's not going to tell nobody. First, she's like freaking out and she's going to tell her husband. But then she's like, no, I can't tell anybody because she doesn't want her son to be found guilty. Like, hello, duh. So then she decides, never mind, I'm not going to tell anybody. She's like, I'm going to sleep on it and tomorrow's going to be a different day. Could you imagine? I mean, can you imagine your son has just told you that he shot and killed someone? And this entire time, this entire 7 months that's been going on, the trial, all of this like whole shit show, the family getting torn apart. Her best friend hates her now because her best friend is Emily's mom and Emily's dead. Anyways, her best friend, Melanie, hates her now. Like, their families have been torn apart. All this shit, all to save her son and prove that he was innocent and that he didn't shoot Emily. And he just says to her, he just admits to her that he actually did. She would go home and pretend that she had never come to visit her son that night. In the morning, everything would look different. And then she'd be put on the witness stand. So she hasn't even taken the witness stand yet. Oh my God. So what is she going to do? Y'all, what the fuck is she going to do when she takes the witness stand? Because she has just found out this, which totally changes her story because she didn't know for sure. She didn't know. She thought her son was innocent. She thought that he did not shoot Emily. And he just fucking told her that he did. And now she's got to go on the witness stand. She hasn't even gone on the fucking witness stand yet. Like, so this is going to change her story completely. What do y'all think? Do you think she's going to be like honest? Or do you think she's going to try to play cool and get her son off? What do y'all think is going to happen? Let me know. Put it in the comments. What do I think? I think, oh God, I don't know, man. I think she's going to try to protect her son. What do y'all think? Let's move on to the next section. It struck Gus as strange that in the legal system, there was an immunity that could protect you from testifying against your husband, but there was nothing that you could hold up as a shield to keep you from testifying against your child. Odd, since a child was the one who had your smile, or your eyes, or at the very least, your blood running through its veins. Gus would have been 10 times more likely to give evidence against James than Chris. Did you hear that? She's talking about her husband. Shit. Okay, anyways. Gus would have been 10 times more likely to give evidence against James than Chris. Oh, fuck. And it was not a matter of perjury in her battered mind. It was motherhood. She was wearing a garnet-colored dress whose gathered sleeves only set off the fact that she was trembling uncontrollably. Gus had fixed a smile on her face, certain that if she even let her lips relax from their rictus the slightest bit, she would blurt out what she knew. She stood outside the double doors of the courtroom, having been told by Jordan that she'd be the first and only witness called that day. Oh my God. Okay. All right. The bailiff stood across from her, impassive. Suddenly the door opened, and she was led down the courtroom aisle. She kept her eyes on her feet the whole way. And as she sat down in the small box, she thought, how much bigger is the one they'll lock Chris in for life? She knew that Jordan had wanted her to look at Chris as soon as she was seated, but she kept her gaze trained on her lap. She could feel her son, a magnetic pull toward her left, his nerves jangling nearly as loudly as hers. But if she lifted her eyes to his, she knew that she'd start to cry. Suddenly, a thick, worn Bible was thrust before her. The clerk of the court instructed her to place her left hand on it and raise her right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. So help you God. For the first time since entering the courtroom, Gus locked her gaze with her son's. Yes, she said, in a voice that carried, I do. Oh my God. I cannot believe that what the fuck just happened. I can't believe what just happened. Anyways, so we're going to end today's reading there. Holy ballsack. I don't know where this is going to go. This is crazy. This is fucking crazy. Okay. Anyways, so let's just do a little recap real quick, shall we? Barry interviews Michael Gold, Emily's father, basically just makes him feel like shit. Can you actually see your daughter picking up a gun, holding it to her head, and pulling the trigger? Michael is like, no, he can't. He says that he cannot see his daughter offing herself. That's when Barry ends her argument. She's like, I've done my work here. And then we jump to Chris in jail. His old roommate who was moved to another jail, he's just found out is dead. So he's like real upset. Then his mom comes to visit him and he is just like in a mood. Chris is just in a fucking mood. Like challenging his mom in a number of words, just saying, fuck you. And I hate my life, basically. After some arguing, he admits to his mother that he shot Emily. Gus throws up. The next day, she has to get on the witness stand. And she is the only witness that day. Oh my God. He didn't give us any context, so we don't know if it was an accident or not. Like, you know, could have been, we don't know. Could have been a slip. We don't know. He didn't go that far. But all we know is that he said that he did shoot her, okay? That's all Gus knows. Gus doesn't know context. She don't know details. I'm thinking, let me know what y'all think. But we're thinking, or what it's painting, what it's telling us so far is that Gus is going to protect her son. I don't know what the fuck she's going to say. Thoroughly enjoying this book. It's so good. It's getting even better. I love books, don't you? So next time when we pick back up, we will be picking up with Gus Hart, Chris's mom, on the witness stand. And she may or may not be telling the truth. What do you guys think? Who are your favorite characters? Who do you relate to? What do you think is about to happen? Put it in the comments. If you want to keep watching, I will link the next book club video up here somewhere for you all to click on that if you want to keep watching. I love you guys. I love that you enjoyed this as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Hit the like and subscribe buttons and have a wonderful day. To those who celebrate, happy holidays.
How y'all feel out there? I'm light years, call me eons. When the snare kick in, the beat is neon. Lights, yeah, I'm feeling magnificent. Care less what I'm up against.